Nobody played the ninth generation. Yeah, I said it. Okay, so something strange happened in gaming. For the first time in decades, an entire console generation was skipped. Not because we stopped playing, but because we started playing somewhere else entirely. So where did everyone go? Hi, my name is Leon, and today I want to talk about the ninth generation of consoles and why it feels like people have already forgotten about it. Because when you really think about it, how many people actually are going to feel nostalgic for the period of time of the 2020 and 2025, or in 2026? We don't even know when the 10th generation would properly start, but by now, trying to buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X doesn't even feel worth it anymore. And that's the weird part. Every generation before this had a clear identity, but this one, for a lot of people, it just never happened. So the PS5 and the Xbox Series X launched in 2020, and not only were they very expensive consoles, but because of something that happened between 2020 and 2023, as a consequence of COVID, they were in short supply of chips for like years upon well, I said years, but like I said, 2020, 2023. So right in the middle of COVID-19, and because of we got the chip shortage, factories were essentially shut down and production was slowed, and suddenly everything needed chips. Consoles, PCs, phones, even cars. Manufacturers, especially in China, were heavily impacted. Factories had to shut down temporarily to protect workers, and at the same time, chips were needed for everything: computers, smartphones, cars, and consoles. So there was a limited supply of chips and a huge demand for them. Other countries like Japan and the Netherlands, which were also manufacturers of chips, were also affected, but primarily we're gonna have to focus on the ones that were situated in China. So because of this, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X were limited for basically years. That's the main honestly, that's the main reason that this generation was skipped. You can only just stop the video right here. That's basically what happened. A chip shortage that lasted years made the consoles hard to get, so a lot of people never played them. And even after it finished, there were a lot of consequences that happened. As a consequence for them for being hard to get for 3 years, even in 2024 and 2025, they were still essentially not played or bought often, because it already ended with a lot of people not being able to buy them in the first place. So you're not gonna buy them now either. But if we go further, why else did this generation fail? Well, you could say people didn't want traditional consoles anymore and preferred mobile or PC gaming. But that's not entirely true, because if that was the case, the Switch would have failed too, and it didn't. Shoot. The real issue, in fact, the Switch honestly isn't even part of the ninth generation. It's an 8th generation console, yet it seems to have outlived and outperformed in terms of sales both new consoles. So the real issues were the consoles were expensive, they were inaccessible, and there weren't enough exclusive games for them. Another important factor, portability. Jesus Christ, I really slaughtered my words here. Portability became more important for gamers as time went on, and people went to play on the go. So phones, laptops, portable PCs, and obviously portable consoles like the Switch became a lot more important than the traditional consoles. Plus, you could play some of those things on a TV if you wanted. And even portable consoles are basically just PCs, or basically just portable or just PCs, honestly, especially the Switch. They're essentially handmade. Not handmade, I mean they're handheld PCs. Portable consoles or handheld PCs, sorry. So if you already had a laptop, you were basically already gaming on a PC anyway. Or if you already had a portable console, you already had a PC as well. You're gaming on a PC as well, because those things are connected to platforms like Steam, which makes buying a console feel kind of redundant. Plus, there were no exclusives for anymore. Well, at least until now. But during the 2020 and 2025, for a good period of time, there weren't enough exclusive to warrant buying a PS5 or an Xbox, especially an Xbox. And the ones that did exist eventually came to PC anyway, like the ones that were for the PS5. So if you wait long enough, and there was no reason to buy a console anymore. Although now that's probably gonna change, like for that Wolverine game. That's definitely gonna be Sony exclusive. Damn it. The younger generation, and this had a big consequence. The younger generation, Gen Alpha, basically skipped this generation. Most people who bought a PS5 or Xbox Series X were adults, but kids, students, didn't have access to them. They were more likely to get a laptop or a phone, something they could use for other things. So instead, Gen Alpha basically played mobile games, low-end PC games like Fortnite or Free Fire, mostly on phones or basic PCs. Well, obviously for Fortnite it's gonna be on basic PCs. They don't have a mobile version like Free Fire does. And this also affected entire regions, and so it becomes hard to justify buying these consoles. They were luxuries, but in luxuries that weren't really important compared to the other luxuries that are the PC and the phones. Whereas PC and the if you buy a PS5, you're not going to do anything else with it. You're just going to play games, and so it becomes hard to justify putting money into those type of luxuries compared to this luxury, which, because in the end, this luxury also has a actual functionality to it. Whereas the PS5 and the Xbox Series X don't, and you can't play them all the time, like the Switch or your cell phone. And you also have a laptop. You can also play that all the time if you want as well. Thus, the younger kids probably prefer playing anything else but these two consoles. As for me, that's one of the reasons I didn't get a PS5 or the Xbox Series X. Honestly, my laptop, even though it's from 2018, is much weaker than whatever the Xbox or the PS5 could graphically support. But it could still play this 2018 laptop could still play all the games from the 2020 and 2025. Because even though it's an RTX 1050, it's still pretty solid. And as long as I'm not doing anything crazy, I can still play the current games. Like, I can play, and if I want to, I can also play the games that aren't current, like the Dark Souls series, or emulate PS2 games. The sky is the limit when it comes to PC games. It's a lot better than a PS5. With a PS5, you're gonna have to jailbreak in order to do that. And it's still hard to do that with a PS4. So just imagine how hard and annoying jailbreaking a PS5 is. Not an issue that you have with PCs, even cell phones to some extent. I didn't have a reason to buy the new consoles, and I can still play the new games on my laptop, as long as I don't try to play them at high graphics and all that. And even when it comes to playing and upgrading the current games, I can still just get another laptop that's more powerful and more expensive than the consoles, but again, I can make YouTube videos on that laptop, which I can do on the console. So again, I have more reasons to buy a powerful laptop or PC than a powerful console, even if it's half the price. If I want to upgrade my gaming PC experience again, that's what I'm gonna do. So Gen Alpha prefer mobile and low-end PC games like Fortnite, Free Fire, and Roblox. So other than Gen Alpha preferring these things, there's another reason why this generation was skipped. Also because Gen Alpha, like I said, prefer gaming on NPCs like Fortnite and Free Fire, which can be played on cell phones, especially thanks to the Xbox app. And it should be noted that this console, being so inaccessible and expensive, also alienated a large demographics around the world. One being Latin America, like me. I mean Latin Americans like me. You see, Latin Americans much prefer a mobile experience or a PC experience, because let me tell you something, a Brazilian over here makes around $250 minimum. Well, I say minimum, but it can always go lower. And I have a friend who is essentially a Brazilian, who is Brazilian and lives in Brazil, but comes from a poor family. And regardless of that, he has a gaming PC. He essentially scoured everything around the earth to get himself a working gaming PC. So he has, and somehow he managed to, I don't know how, through the gods, through essentially godsend of God, get himself and his hands on a cheap recent 3000 GeForce GTX graphics card. I don't know how he did that, but like I said, if you know anything about those graphic cards, they're pretty damn expensive, especially for a South American. Like I said, $250 minimum wage. But like I said, South Americans, they're going to scour everything and they're going to find a way to play video games within their means. And that's what essentially they've always done. And that's something that's something that I always done myself as well. Just look at the PS2, which was affordable when it came out. Well, it was incredibly popular. It was incredibly popular in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East for years, even well into the PS3's life cycle. The PS2 was still king in those regions, and that's not something you can say for a PS5, because the PS5 is so expensive and hard to get that, again, it would not make sense to buy one when you can buy a PC or just play Free Fire on your phone. And like I said before, a phone and a laptop and a PC is a lot more important than a console. It's a lot more important than a console, because at the end of the day, you can't use a console for much else unless you jailbreak it in whatever the hell these people managed to do it. However the hell these people managed to do it. And it's sad, because like I said, the PS2 was a godsend in here, and it made a lot of memories for a lot of people. And now the PS5 won't be able to do that anymore, because why? Why would we bother? We already have much better options. So sadly, many people experience from COVID and the shortages that cause irreparable damage to these people. Well, we probably wish they had a PS5 or an Xbox Series to enjoy, but now that they're older and probably have something better to buy, that won't be possible anymore. Those experiences are essentially gone forever. You can't essentially change time anymore. But even if we didn't really get to experience it, that's still not actually true, because we didn't get to experience the PS5 and the Xbox Series X that we did the other past generations. But everything else from this generation, well, the PC and the smartphones, they're still fair game, and you can play and have fun with your friends on any of those devices. You don't need a console. You don't need a traditional console to do that. So it doesn't really matter that we miss these experiences, even though it's sad. Just be happy that you did get to experience something, because these were trying times for most people, and playing video games was probably not on most people's radar. For the most part, people were trying to survive. So let's just be glad that it happened in the way it happened, and just move on and hope that the future is a little better for our little console wars. So, I'm Leon Arusunu, and have fun. Also, no way play this generation. Yeah, I said it.